It took just 11 days to topple a family regime of 50 years. But everything is not sorted. There is an old threat looming over Syria's future. The ISIS is regrouping, and there is a large power vacuum to fill. In this video, we will cover the past and what's on the horizon. So let's begin. In 1971, Hafiz al-Assad became the 5th president of Syria. He ruled Syria for 3 decades with an iron fist, and after his death, his second-born son, who was born in 1965, succeeded his father's presidency. Although he was trained to become an eye surgeon, but fate had written another story. So Assad became the president in 2000s. He was young and people were hopeful. He curated his image like a benevolent leader and was attentive to the people's need. In this news article from the 2000s, we can see a glimpse of Assad's initial days, where he freed 600 political prisoners. This gesture was done to clean his political image and separate him from his father. But as time went by, the systemic problem was still in the administration. And on top of that, Syria has faced a 4-year-long drought from 2006 to 2010. Now you know, a drought cannot be a good thing for any country. And along with this drought, the whole Middle East was going through an unstable phase. Well, nothing has changed till now, has it? So in 2010, there was Arab Spring and people wanted democracy. Also, the United States wanted democracy in these countries. And what happened next? Within 2 years, 4 dictators were overthrown. First in Tunisia, Ben Ali was overthrown after 24 years in power. Then Hosni Mubarak in Egypt after 30 years. Libya dethroned Muammar Gaddafi after 42 years. And finally, Ali Abdullah Saleh in Yemen after 34 long years. So you can imagine this was a nightmare for the dictators. And one day this fire reached Syria too. So how did it all started in Syria? On one fine day in 2011, few kids made a graffiti on their school wall. And what they wrote? They wrote, "It's your turn, doctor." And this line sparked the fire. The police detained these boys. They were beaten, tortured for 45 days, and when they were released, their condition was horrifying. And it shocked the people that how could our own police and our own government can be so much brutal to our kids. And with this, protests started in the city of Dara. Assad cracked down these protests with violence. The more violent the crackdown became, the more agitated the people became. And slowly the protest, which started in Dara, spread across Syria. Major cities in Syria like Damascus, Hama, Homs, Aleppo, everywhere the protests started. Assad used army to crack down the protests, but few members of his army started defecting and refused to open fire on the people. To challenge Assad's regime, these army men united under Colonel Riyad al-Assad and formed Free Syrian Army. The problem with them was they were not very organized and they lacked money to wage a war. Now look at this chart. This chart shows the religious demographic in Syria. More than 60% of them follow Sunni Islam, but Assad was from the Shia Alawite community. The Sunnis were not in many power positions in the regime. The Free Syrian Army which was created had not any religious motive. They just wanted the ousting of Assad, but soon other players came. In January 2012, Al-Qaeda opened its franchise Al-Nusra in Syria, and the Al-Qaeda leader Al-Zawahiri called for Sunni Muslims across the region to join the fight against the regime. Now we can observe that the democracy protest is slowly turning into a sectarian battlefield. Many Free Syrian Army soldiers joined Al-Qaeda. Along with Al-Qaeda, a more extremist group was expanding in Iraq, and this was ISIS. But you might think, why ISIS became big in Syria if Al-Qaeda was already there? So ISIS believed Al-Qaeda was too soft. Isn't it funny? One terrorist group taunting another about being soft. But eventually, both ISIS and Al-Qaeda had the common goal to defeat the Shia ruler Bashar Al-Assad. So naturally, Iran entered to back Assad. With Iran, its proxies like Hezbollah from Lebanon came to support Assad. And with this, the Shia-Sunni proxy war started in Syria. With ISIS and Al-Qaeda getting strong, the United States become worried. Because as you see, the removal of Assad is only a temporary goal of Al-Qaeda. Its main aim is to destroy the USA. And to stop these extreme organizations, the USA started funding the less extreme groups. First, it trained and provided non-lethal aid to Free Syrian Army. But the FSA broke and its fighter joined Al-Qaeda and ISIS. So this plan of US failed drastically. Then it supported the Syrian Democratic Forces. The SDF had mainly Kurdish fighters. These Kurds people are spread across Syria, Turkey and Iraq border. They are the same people, they follow the same culture, but their population is divided in these 3 countries. So the Kurds wanted to make their own country and they had threat from both Turkey and ISIS. Because obviously, why would Turkey want a breaking of its own territory? So far, there were 4 main factions created. The Assad army and its allies, then ISIS Al-Qaeda, Free Syrian Army, and lastly, the SDF. Also, Russia and China started backing Assad. China along with Russia was vetoing resolutions against Assad in the UN Security Council, while Russia was also providing air support to Assad forces and was training Assad army on the ground. And after 4 years of fighting, the ISIS was defeated both by the SDF and the Russian bombing. And Iran and Russia achieved their goal by making sure Assad stays in power. So what happened in 2024? How does Assad fall? The main reason, Israel-Hamas war and Russia-Ukraine war. You see, during Israel-Hamas war, Israel destroyed Hezbollah, the proxy of Iran in Lebanon, which once helped Assad, and Russia was busy in fighting its own war with Ukraine. Seeing Assad alone and his backers busy with their own problem, the HTS led by Al-Jawani seized the moment. Al-Jawani was once the leader of Al-Nusra, the franchise of Al-Qaeda that we discussed earlier. So Jolani was part of Al-Qaeda but broke his ties with it in 2016 and started his own venture. His influence was only limited to northern Idlib. But as Hezbollah weakened and as Israel and US Air Force started bombing Iran's proxies in Syria, indirectly the HTS became stronger. And finally, it started marching towards the capital of Syria, Damascus, on 28th of November 2024. And along the journey, it captured Aleppo. And after capturing Aleppo, its way became easier. Finally, Assad made a deal with HTS and flew to Russia. And now, the HTS is ruling in Syria. So, what's the current situation of ISIS? The attack by ISIS has increased to double as compared to 2023 in 2024, and this has made the region little tensed. Currently, there are around 2,000 American troops present in Syria. In the 2 weeks after fall of Assad, the Americans have bombed 75 ISIS targets in Syria. France has also deployed its Rafale fighter jets in Syria, the same fighter jet which the Indian army also uses. There are also reports of the American setting up a new military base in Syria. So no one can be sure what's going to happen next. This was it for today. This is Raj signing off. Like and subscribe for more.